Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Curl up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're glad you're here. Happy listening.
The mayor of Coldwater, Kansas has drawn national attention and has been charged in state court with multiple felonies for voting illegally as a non-citizen, which could lead to years in prison. His defense is that he didn't know that a permanent resident, he got a green card in 1990, couldn't vote or hold office, and that no one ever told him. Not until sitting for a citizen interview last year with a federal official and asked if he had ever voted did the issue come up. He answered truthfully, and that led to the charges. The story goes that on a senior trip to the courthouse, anyone 18 years old was encouraged to register to vote. So he did. Nobody ever told me I couldn't vote or register to vote. He's lived, worked, served in Coldwater since he was a teenager. He's never been back to Mexico.
Joseph Bios was reelected recently in a landslide, 101 votes to his Republican opponent's 20. He's 55. He came to the U.S. at the age of 4. Had some minor run-ins with the law, misdemeanor battery in 94, and a misdemeanor criminal damage to property related to a divorce in 1995 when he was in his 20s, but no arrests in the last 30 years. He's worked in the Public Works Department and as a lineman. He's been gainfully employed. The town elected him as a city council member, then mayor, $500 a month salary. He's well-liked, has served the town in multiple capacities, steps up when there is a need. He's not really been involved in national politics, but is a supporter of Trump's immigration policy to get the bad guys out. He is consistently aligned with the Republican platform, voting Republican all his life. The heavily Republican-leaning town sees the prosecution as a personal attack on a pillar of the community, a chance for the Kansas City Attorney General to make a name and support his insistence that non-citizen voting is a real problem, a claim he supported since the 2010s when, as Secretary of State, he called for stricter election laws.
Almost the whole town, 700 people, turned out in support of Joe's first court appearance. One townsperson said, "He's as American as I am." Even his mayoral opponent said, "He's not a bad guy. He's not doing any harm to anybody." But he did break the law. Should he be convicted? Should he be deported? Or, as the town seems to want, give him a slap on the wrist and move on? Does living a good life warrant a different look? Does the permanent resident status affect the picture? Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. I'm Callie.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Mom. So we had a pretty good discussion as we prepped for this one. It was very interesting.
Yeah, so I struggle with this one because, again, doesn't really seem like he's a bad guy. But I'm coming up with, and maybe we can get into this later, several hyperbolic analogies to this situation. And I kind of want to see where you guys are at.
So I think for me, I really struggle to see this happen to someone who's led a productive, pretty non-confrontational life. And because I really disagree. If you want to remove the bad guys, and he even himself referred to, these are the molesters and the murderers and the drug people, I'm not going to argue with you on that one. But when you start doing this to people who've lived their life really as American citizens for, 51 years for this guy, I kind of go, what? I go back to the lady, I can't remember what town she was, but she worked in a cafeteria and she got swept up in an immigration raid and the whole town went crazy until they released her because she hadn't done anything. And I get it. This one's different. He, as a legal resident, he wasn't supposed to vote in federal elections. And his defense as nobody ever told me, there's a part of me that can go and say, this guy's from a town of 700 people. I kind of get that he didn't know. We don't teach this kind of thing in history class.
No, but we do teach
should.
reading. We do teach reading, and you have to fill out paperwork to register to vote, and it has it on there.
Yeah. But at 18, did you know that?
He couldn't read at 18?
Did he know what it meant? Now, granted, afterwards,
are you a U.S. citizen is a pretty straightforward question.
he's a permanent resident, and I had to look up what that meant.
So tell us, what's a permanent resident?
A permanent resident is somebody who is not a U.S. citizen but can live anywhere in the United States. They can work without needing a work visa. They can own property. They can attend public schools and colleges. This one got me. They can join the military in a limited capacity, that they get zero security clearance and they can never be an officer. But it can expedite naturalization if you are in the military. And they can apply for citizenship after meeting certain eligibility.
So what permissions do you have to become a permanent legal resident? Who do you have to ask for that status?
If I remember correctly, you have to apply for that and you have to answer some questions about where you came from and what you're doing here and that kind of thing.
I assume it falls under the jurisdiction of the State Department.
I would think so. But here's my question on all of this. How can he be, and I get that it's been a little while. You said he's been here for 51 years. How can he be so interested in politics on any level and not know the definitions to things that are directly applicable to his situation?
But he said he wasn't. He wasn't involved with that. He's not following national politics, and he's
But he's
in a
voting
town.
for it.
But he's voting in federal elections and is running for local offices. So he is quite clearly aware of the U.S. political system.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if city level politics is the same as federal level politics. It looks really different to me.
But it's part of the same system.
Right. And you said that upon your research, you found that in order for him to run for city council, he does not have to be a citizen of the United States?
You can't vote in federal elections and you can't hold a federal office as a non-citizen.
I have a really hard time accepting help from somebody who is trying to be helpful, but very obviously can't read or comprehend simple things. And maybe that makes me an asshole. But again, in order to register to vote, even at 18, and we talked about this, I don't know what the laws are in Kansas. I can look them up. I don't know. But in Texas, you don't just register to vote one time. You register to vote over and over again every time you renew your driver's license, at the minimum. And I know I'm not trying to get into the whole driver license laws and things like that. Not everybody has it. Okay, fine. Not my point. But he has registered to vote on several different occasions, not only one time at 18.
But you know what, Cal? You said that to me last night, and I was kind of like, do I? I mean,
yep.
And
yes.
If you asked me in a court of law if I had registered to vote more than one time, I would tell you no. I would tell you that I get my voter registration card every couple of years and that I get it because I haven't moved or changed my name or anything, that I just get a new voter's registration. I don't feel like I physically re-registered to vote.
Did you know that you're supposed to sign that every time you get a new one?
No, I've never signed one. And I don't take them with me when I go to vote. Well, that's probably not true. And nobody's ever asked me to sign it.
Because you're using your driver's license instead.
Yeah.
It's an either or. Because again, not everybody has access to a driver's license.
Technically, if you were in a court of law, you would be committing perjury. And this is kind of one of the main points here. Ignorance is not an excuse. Like, I get what you're saying. I do. And do I think he deserves to be deported? Personally, probably not. But, I mean, to me, it also, here's the thing. If he's doing it, how many other people are doing it? How many other people don't know?
Here's my question. If supposedly that type of fraud is like 0.01% of the population, how do we even know if we didn't know about him?
That's kind of the point I feel like this administration is trying to make.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, I hate to make that.
Tough. Look, reality is reality. Regardless of whether you agree with who is pointing that reality or not, reality is reality. 2 + 2 = 4. Sorry.
Yeah. And it certainly brings that to question and makes you wonder about that one. So I get that. But I'm going to say this. To me, there is a difference between someone who grew up in a little town of 700 people and someone who grew up in a metroplex. Their education is most likely different. Their exposure is most likely different. And does that, I don't think that releases him from responsibility, but I can see where there could be a difference. And I just don't think this warrants sending someone to prison, which is the possibility for this man, years of prison. I just don't see that.
So what if he was doing it intentionally and he did know that he wasn't supposed to be voting? Would it then?
It would be different for me, yeah.
Who
it would be
gets to
different for
judge
me.
that?
I just...
And that would be the hard thing to determine. But, it's the same thing that he's been a valuable member of the community. This community loves and supports him. This is not a bad guy.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't love and support him at all. I admire the fact that they love and support an existing member of their community, but loving and supporting and skirting the law
Not
are
holding
not the same
accountable.
thing.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing. This is what we talked about last week. Accountability.
Yeah.
Not holding someone accountable because they have done something else that is good doesn't let the system work.
Right. Should his community support influence legal outcomes?
I mean, we talked last week about the judge who gave a harsher sentence over somebody who used ChatGPT to write their apology letter because he didn't think that they had enough sincerity about it. Yeah, I think
Good.
sometimes. And
that's his job. That's the judge's job.
And I was going to say, what that means is that the law has variance. And that's really hard for me to comprehend, appreciate. And yet, I really don't want to see this guy go to prison.
So you told me a story ages and ages ago, of a high school kid. I want to say he was like a star football player. Everything was great. He was a really nice guy, really well liked, very popular. And he had been helping his grandmother move over the weekend. And come to find out, a butter knife had gotten left in his truck. And the security officer at the school saw this butter knife, and they did not just slap him on the wrist, because they have zero tolerance policy for weapons on school grounds.
Yeah. I think he was the president of the honor society, or the school class. I mean, he was up there, and they just happened to see this butter knife, and he got suspended because of a zero tolerance. And I will
Which
still
is silly,
tell you
because
today,
if a butter knife is a weapon, then so is a pencil.
Yes, exactly. And that's all subjective, obviously. It was stupid then to take, and I see a correlation here. Here you have a kid who is doing what you want him to do in school, being who you want him to be, and you're going to punish him for a butter knife? that was accidentally left in his car, not used, not in a threatening way, not taken out of his car, just accidentally saw it in the floorboard of his truck.
I don't see
Does
these
this
as
make
one-to-one.
sense?
Like, I get what you're saying, but I don't see these issues as one-to-one.
I don't disagree, but I wanted to bring it up because I think that it's an interesting kind of talking point. What should the consequences be for an elected official breaking election laws?
But there is a difference between a small town mayor
Is
who
there?
is not a federal officer and a federal officer. Yeah, there is.
Why?
But according to Google, some cities and jurisdictions may allow permanent residents to serve in very specific capacities, but generally they are not allowed to hold public office.
And if they lack
So-
all of this legal knowledge, would you want them to hold public office?
I can see an argument for people who don't have a law degree to
Sure.
hold a public office.
Absolutely.
But if you don't know that you can't vote in federal elections without U.S. citizenship, regardless of how helpful you want to be, I don't know that we should be putting you in an office somewhere.
What else don't you know?
Yeah. I mean,
So
I
take him
understand
out
the
of
sentiment.
office.
Sure. And
But
I
send
think
him
that
to
there has
prison?
to be,
That's not our call.
that's not really what I want for the guy, but there has to be some action taken to hold him accountable. If I don't see a school zone sign and I'm speeding, should the cop let me off?
They didn't me.
I mean, I'm asking. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm on my way to pick up my kid. I'm taking teddy bears to the school as a donation. Are you going to let me off? I'm doing something good. Does that offset the wrong that I have committed? Does that offset my ignorance of the law? I mean, that's like the least hyperbolic example I can come up with for something like this.
I know, but is that taking compassion out? That we can't have compassion with the law?
I'm not saying not to have compassion. What I'm saying is that we can't just not hold someone accountable for something like this. We shouldn't,
agree
in
with
my
you.
opinion.
I agree with you. But I also think, I mean, we've pointed out the wrong. He's resigned his office. He's been humiliated. God knows what the internet has done to him. So he is paying a price, but is it appropriate to send him to prison? And I'm really hoping that when all of this comes through, that the court shows some leniency. I hope he's got a great lawyer who can get these charges lowered.
Here's the thing. I would be completely content if the attorney general were to give him a plea deal. To say, hey, we're going to lower this to perjury, whatever it is. And we're going to be very clear. You're going to pay a pretty heavy fine. You're going to do some community service. You're not allowed to hold public office.
And I think that's fine. I just don't know that this warrants prison and deportation. So,
but what if that's what they decide? What if the laws that are on the books say that, hey, these are the punishments for the actions that you took? We have predetermined, because anything that you go to criminal court for has predetermined sentencing. And it's typically a range. And the judge then generally has discretion to say, okay, in light of everything that we know, this is where on that spectrum I'm going to apply the sentencing that we have already established. What if that's 3 years?
It saddens me to do that to somebody like this guy.
But where's the line?
I mean,
he's worked in a small town and he's made these really small impacts there and his intentions were good. If he did this in St. Louis, is the standard the same? If he did this in Tallahassee, Florida, if he did this in Austin, Texas, if he did this in Washington, D.C., or New York City, or Chicago, well, he meant well and he is too stupid to know. So we just shouldn't penalize him too bad.
I know what you're saying. I do. But here's the other thing that I want to say. Would you want something that you did as a teenager, which I get, it's been longer than that. I mean, it started as a teenager, but would you want something that you did as a teenager to come back on you now and be punishable?
I think that you have to work to educate yourself and get your shit above reproach. Especially
we
when you're
all
talking
try
about
that and we all fail.
Sure. You're right. We do. And I'm not expecting him to be perfect, but he's been here for 51 years and hasn't become a naturalized citizen.
He was working towards that.
Even the longest
50 years in.
Even the longest timetable of that happening is like 25 years.
What do you mean?
On average, the average timeline for you to be working towards becoming a citizen from another country in this country is, I think, 3 to 7 years. And it's, I'm sure, work.
Yeah. And expensive.
He's got 700 people who are coming to his court case. Start a GoFundMe.
There wasn't GoFundMe 30 years ago.
There was 20.
I mean, I understand what y'all are saying. I guess I just want some compassion here.
I am a compassion girl.
You are.
I get it. But at the same time, where does that start and stop? Where does that compassion get applied and not? To whom? Who gets to decide?
I want that to be on a case-by-case basis.
As early as 2026, the total cost to become a U.S. citizen through naturalization is generally $710 to $760, which includes the N400 application fee and integrated biometrics. Filing online via the USCIS website costs $710, while a paper application is $760. Total costs may exceed $1,000 when factoring in legal fees, photos, and or translation services.
And how many of those people need a lawyer to go with that, to even fill out the paperwork? Could y'all? I mean, we should do that. We should pull that form down and see how easy it is to complete. And we're English speaking, educated. I wonder if it's that simple. And maybe it is. Maybe it's 10 questions. I don't know.
Even if it's not, an expensive lawyer for something like this is a few $100s an hour?
Probably. Depending on where you're at. Yeah.
So if you've been here for 50 years, even if it takes you $5,000, I don't know that I would really consider that prohibitively expensive.
That's less than $10 from each of his 700 friends who showed up at his court case.
Okay. And I also have to say he has a Harley Davidson, so maybe he can afford it.
Yeah. And a Ram pickup truck. He's a lineman. Linemen are generally paid fairly well.
Yeah, true.
I just can't.
I mean, here's my thing. I don't understand how you prioritize running for city council and for the mayor of your town when you know you're not a citizen. Prioritize your citizenship first.
I hear you saying that, but what if he really didn't know?
Didn't know he was a citizen? He didn't know he had a green card?
He didn't know he came here from another country when he was 4 years old?
What if he thought that green card gave him the authority to do that?
What if I thought 25 meant 45 in the school zone? What are you asking?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't want either one of you on my jury.
I understand empathy, but at this point, to me, this is what the far right would call suicidal empathy, to approach every situation like this to say, oh, well, he's not that bad of a guy. Can we just let him off?
But y'all, think about the scale of justice. That's part of what the weight is.
What? What's part of what the weight is?
To have compassion and empathy.
Yes, but it's countered with intelligence and integrity.
Your compassion, because, again, these are scales. The compassion
Yes.
should not outweigh the justice.
I get it.
Did you ever read of Mice and Men?
I don't think so.
Callie?
Ages ago, I was a freshman.
Lenny and George? Look at the flowers. Do you remember that scene?
No.
Lenny and George are a pair of basically migrant workers, one of whom is pretty clearly severely mentally handicapped. He kills a girl, doesn't know that it's wrong, because he's not capable of knowing that it's wrong. The other one executes him. They're best friends.
Why does he execute him?
Because he's not capable of knowing right from wrong.
So he took justice into his own hands.
Yes. Because he knew that him doing it was a kindness.
Was it right?
They were gonna try him and kill him anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the whole main idea of that book, is that struggle between compassion and empathy and justice.
I think we just have to remember that when you're sitting here bringing up the scales of justice, to remember the scale part. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction.
Yeah.
That's just physics.
Yeah.
And
I get what you're saying. I do. Do I think that this man should be deported? Not really. Do I think that he should spend 20 years in prison? Probably not. But he did mess up. He did do something wrong.
He did. And he admits that.
Openly. Which is, I mean, good on him.
half the battle.
Yeah.
But when you mess up, you have to pay the consequences. And so we can't just say there aren't any consequences. And because he messed up, he has to deal with whatever the consequences are, with whatever they dole out, whether we agree with it or not.
And I think that that's where I go. I don't know this man from Adam. I don't know anything more about his story than what I've read in the news and what we have talked about and you've shared. I do know that deciding what his punishment is or should be is not my job. I am neither qualified nor capable of making that decision. And so while I think there are lots of flaws in our justice system, I believe that that is their job. I think that he should be tried in front of a jury of his peers. I think that he should be charged with the crimes that they allege against him. And I think that he should plead his case. And from there, I think that it is up to the judge and the jury to figure out what the outcome is. And I think it's his job to say,
okay,
thank you.
With
whatever the outcome is.
on that. Yeah.
So,
I don't disagree with you on that. I just hope that there is some compassion there. And
I want to address that,
I hope
though.
there's a way of looking at his life and saying there was a contribution here. He tried.
I want to address that, though, because I want to understand how much that's worth, doing right versus doing wrong, and the weight of that. So I posed a hypothetical to you when we were talking about this last night, and I'm going to pose that same hypothetical to you now. Let's take Jeffrey Epstein, for example, who generally, as a society, we view as a monster. What if he had donated $500 billion to the charity of your choice? And we knew that that charity wasn't going to be able to take any of that money. There was a legal stipulation that if you're going to take this money, you have to use all of it You have to apply all of it to whatever it is that your charity is supposed to do. You cannot have any of it. Do you think that he should get a lighter sentence if that was the case?
I know what you're saying, but I also see a real distinct difference between the life that Epstein, the life that Epstein lived, and the life that this man has lived.
Regardless,
And while the
they both
money
did
is
something
there,
bad, and they both did something good.
It's the scales of justice.
I'm just saying, I don't think that vote that this guy has done carries the same weight of evil as what Epstein has done.
I agree.
Yes.
But that's besides the point. Is there an amount of money is there an amount of atonement that can make up for wrong? Is there a line that if it's wrong enough, there is nothing you can do to atone for it?
Yeah, I think there are. I think there are things that you can do that you can't atone for.
Like what?
I don't think Jeffrey Dahmer can atone for what he did. I don't think Epstein can atone for what he did. I mean, that is evil.
What makes their wrongdoing? I understand that you, from a moral perspective, are going to weight it differently, but from a legal perspective, on paper, our mechanical legal system,
harm. I think it comes down to harm. If you look at Epstein or Dahmer and the harm that they did to other individuals, can you weigh that equally against the harm that this guy has done?
If you want me to make the case, I'd be happy to try.
Oh.
So how many non-citizen permanent residents are there in the United States?
I have no idea. I didn't even know there was such a thing until last night. I didn't know there was a class considered legal permanent residents. Y'all look at me like I'm dumb. Now I feel
Boggles
really
my
dumb.
absolute mind. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's find out here real quick.
So that, Mom, just for the record, that's anybody who's going through the process of trying to obtain citizenship, who's applied for asylum, there are all kinds of people.
That's anybody with a green card.
No, there's more.
Just because you've applied for asylum does not make you a legal permanent resident.
She's right. It does not.
I know, but going through that process, if you have been granted the opportunity to seek to get asylum, that's the tipping point.
I still don't think that gives you legal permanent residency.
So as of early 2024, approximately 12.8 to 14 million lawful permanent residents, green card holders, live in the United States, with roughly 1 million green cards being issued annually. So if we take the average there and we say 13 and we add another million, we'll take the high end of that 2024 estimate at 14 million green card holders.
For 2025.
What if they all vote and they say, well, we didn't know we couldn't? Is that harmful?
It could be. According to the Kansas AG, it takes that many American votes away, invalidates that many American votes.
I mean, effectively, yes. If I go vote for Donald Trump and you go vote for
anybody else,
someone else, effectively those votes are being canceled out. And if you're not allowed to vote, then I am not being represented fairly, as is my right as a U.S. citizen.
Assuming that they vote against you.
Assuming that they vote against me, sure. But we know that with a two-party system, they're voting against someone.
Yeah.
So quite clearly, we have established harm.
Okay.
And maybe that harm is, if you've got 14 million, let's say 20%. That's still almost 3 million votes. Roughly 1% of the population who is getting their votes canceled out, when we consider how many people generally vote in a federal election, significantly more than that. So, I mean, we've established that harm is being done, regardless of intention. So do we treat all of those people the same way? Maybe they weren't acting in the same capacity as Joe. Maybe they weren't upstanding civil servants in the same way that he has maintained himself. Does that mean that they should get harsher sentences? The harm is the same. Let's say I'm a U.S. senator and I have done nothing but do good things for my constituency. Everything that they have wanted, I have voted in favor of. Everything that they have asked me to do, I have done. I've gone out of my way to make sure that my people feel represented. And then I kill someone. Should my sentence be lighter because I was a good representative and helped my constituency? I mean, I get it's a hyperbolic example, but the point remains.
And I don't know if this is stupid on my part, but to me, there is a difference between a vote and physical harm. And I just think there always will be.
But what if the result of those votes is physical harm? What if, because you canceled out my vote, the candidate that I would have voted for would have done really good things for the people of the U.S., citizens or not? They would have reduced hunger. They would have improved medical care. But now those people don't get it. So more people die of starvation. More people die for lack of treatment because they can't afford it. Is that not physical harm?
I mean, that's a scenario that you cannot prove to me could play out.
I just went and looked. In 1960, JFK won the popular vote over Richard Nixon by less than 120,000 votes. 120,000. And Cole, how many permanent legal residents did you? 13.
Roughly 14 million. And if 20% of them vote, that's still almost 3 million votes.
Yeah.
Well above the requirement to sway an election.
Yeah. I mean, the George W. Bush and Al Gore presidential race in 2000, that was the whole hanging Chad, I demand a recount thing. That popular vote was swayed by 500,000 votes. 500,000. I mean, and I'm just looking at a couple of close elections, but I think that it would be really hard to say, well, out of that 500,000, this one guy didn't intend for it to be bad. He didn't intend for it to be meaningful. And on top of all of that, then I think you have to take into consideration what he's voting for. He's voting against his own interests. If you're going to vote for Donald Trump, how do you vote for Donald Trump as an illegal alien?
He's not illegal.
He's not illegal. He is a legal alien. He's not a citizen, but he's a legal alien.
It's still against his own interests. You're voting
he doesn't
for
think so.
He
would disagree with you.
He would disagree with you.
But we know he can't read, so I don't give a shit if he disagrees with me.
That is not fair, Callie.
How?
He can read.
He just chooses not to.
No, that is not our call, our judgment.
Mom, to sign up to register to vote multiple times over the course of the last 50 years, 40 years, because he was 18, 40 years, I can only have so much sympathy for you here. You had to lie or be too stupid to know that you weren't a citizen that you then told
repeatedly commit perjury.
Right.
I know what you're saying.
I
hear
just
what you're
can't
saying.
follow that logic. And truth be told, Mom, for me, and you guys can sit here and say that, well, Callie's a liberal. Okay, fine, whatever. But it wouldn't matter to me who they were voting for. The fact that he voted for Trump is ironic, but it doesn't matter who he voted for. It's certainly irrelevant. Because at the end of the day, you don't have the right to vote, and yet you are participating in that. Whether you voted for Donald Trump or Al Gore or Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Barack Obama is completely irrelevant.
Yes.
You did so at the hands of either ignorance or malicious intent.
Somewhere on that scale.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting highlight to really kind of a different subject. There has been this massive outrage against ICE, and there has been this massive outrage against the call for voter ID. But I think this is a really interesting highlight, a really interesting context to that conversation. I don't think he had malicious intent, but ignorance results in the same potential harm.
That's valid.
And so, I mean, like, I think that this is a really interesting, again, kind of highlight to that conversation, because I would tell you that the running thesis of many who are pro voter ID, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, regardless, one of the talking points that pro voter ID identifiers use is that the only reason to not have voter ID would be to commit fraud. So the idea is, and this is what many claim the Democrats have tried to do over the last previous administration, you open the border, you bring all of these people in, you do everything that you can to give them the ability to vote, legal or not, and that incentivizes them to continue to vote for you forever, because you're the one who let them in and you're the one who let them vote. And even if they are doing it not nefariously, the individuals who are voting, they are doing it ignorantly, the same harm occurs, which is the whole point.
I can't disagree with you.
I guess for me, all of this boils down to how do we as a society determine who deserves empathy and sympathy and support, even when they're breaking the law?
That's a great question. I mean, I'd really like to say that everybody does, but it's not true. I don't think everybody does.
Is that bias?
No. For me, I think it's intent.
I think that is bias, though, because I would disagree. I think everyone does deserve empathy and compassion, but that empathy and compassion cannot outweigh their intent or the result of their intent. I don't think you can be more compassionate than the harm someone has committed. I mean, look, there are guys who have stolen and murdered and killed. The gang members that we talked about in our good news story a couple of weeks ago, those guys committed crimes. Many of them inflicted harm on people, but they have worked to try and atone for those, which is great. Do I think everyone is capable of that? No. Would it be great if that was the case? Yeah, but that's not reality. And so those guys know that they've done wrong.
Put
they
every
admit
criminal
that they have done wrong.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you couldn't put every criminal in that program.
You couldn't. But there are also criminals who could exploit that system, who could pretend to be atoning.
Sure.
I mean, it happens all the time.
Sure.
And so this is where you have to take that compassion and temper it and say, yes, people are deserving of compassion, but I cannot allow that compassion to result in them taking advantage of me or to continue to take advantage of the system.
I just have a really hard time following the string of logic to giving grace to someone to know the depths of their heart and their intention when they consistently choose to do something that they know is wrong. That is wrong. Know it or not.
Look at the flowers.
Back to Of Mice and Men.
I don't know, guys. I'm going to watch this one and see where it goes and continue to hope for compassion for him.
What would that look like to you? What would you be satisfied with the outcome being?
I think I'm with you. I'm going to have to be satisfied with the judge and jury verdict, but I'm still going to hope that he gets to maintain somewhat of the life that he's led over the last 50 years in the town that he's lived in for the last 50 years.
How much is
He'll
a vote
never,
worth?
it's hard to say.
That's such
And
a
is his
yucky question.
vote worth more or less than mine?
Neither.
But from a mathematics standpoint, I'm sure there is a difference. I'm sure it would cost a federal politician differently to sway my opinion with my community and where I live than it would for his. But his
What do you
vote
mean?
could be more or less impactful. So we have an electoral college, right? So that means votes of Texans weigh differently than votes of Californians and Kansans and Oklahomans. So if his vote weighs differently, should it not have a different monetary value? How much does a vote in his small town cost?
And it's a vote.
Should he
that's a
have to pay
lie.
back one person, or does he have to pay back everyone in the town? I don't either. Does he have to pay back me because he canceled out my vote? Does he have to pay back Callie because he canceled out her vote? Did he equivalently harm all U.S. citizens by
Tampering with
voting
the system?
illegally?
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd have a very difficult time proving that his one vote, because that's all you're working with, is his one vote.
How many times did he
Not
vote?
the alleged 13 million, but his one vote.
How many
Over
times?
the course of 40 years.
Yeah.
So if he voted in 94, and well, it really would have been 96, 2000, 2004, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. We're at 8 votes.
Best case. I mean, that doesn't take any
That's
into
just for
consideration,
presidential.
any midterms, anything else. That doesn't take into consideration anything smaller, different.
Yeah.
I mean, what if their representative race, what if he was a swing vote?
What if he voted for the Kansas AG that's now suing him or charging
He did.
him? Most likely. Yeah. Most likely.
I'm pretty sure it says in the article that he did.
And what does it say? What precedence does that set to American citizens, whether you were born here or you've gone through the process, to say, well, he didn't know any better. But those of you who are doing the work and who are abiding by the rules, well, he didn't do.
I went and volunteered at Operation Christmas Child several times. They didn't take anything off my speeding tickets. They didn't give me any leniency on anything. But I would say that I am beneficial to my community. I hope I'm beneficial to my community.
Hell, I got in trouble for it. I got called by a buddy and neighbor in college that said they were having a party and he didn't want to drive to the liquor store drunk and asked if I'd take him. I didn't attend the party, but I took him to the liquor store and I got in trouble. You were in possession. It was in the car with you. You had access to it.
That I think is part of a different argument of the shortcomings of our justice system. I think it's part of this conversation. I think this conversation is part of that one, would be a better descriptor.
I'm not trying to, this is not me comparing apples to apples. What we both did is the same thing. That's not at all what I'm saying. But at the same time, my intentions were good. So should I not have been in trouble? Because I got in trouble.
But I think that could have gone differently too, dependent on a different cop stopping you or a different cop seeing you. It could have been different.
What would have different looked like? Would I have not had to pay a fine? Would I have not had to get a ticket? Would I have not had to go to a community service? Would I have not had to go and take an alcohol awareness class?
It's possible.
This was a girl's dad that I went to school with. He knew me.
Maybe that's why you got the ticket. Maybe he was teaching you a lesson.
It's not a very good way to teach a lesson.
And what was the lesson?
She learned something.
What was the lesson?
Don't do good things. Don't help people.
No.
Let him drive drunk next time.
No, that wasn't all of it either.
What was it?
I think he was just telling her to be smarter.
Because ignorance isn't an excuse. These are the laws that being a member of this society you have to abide by.
Like them or not.
Like them or not. These are the rules.
I'm just saying, it could have been different with a different cop.
Should it have been,
Which
though?
to me is a problem.
Yeah.
Which is the other conversation that I'm alluding to.
Right. Should it be different?
Maybe.
And again, who gets to be the judge of that character, of your character?
If I remember right, and I could very well be wrong on this, but I have a close friend who used to be both a city police officer and a county sheriff's deputy, who I believe in the state of Texas, there are only two things that law enforcement officers are required to take you in for, that they cannot. So in general, they have discretion when it comes to charging you. However, there are two acts that they do not have discretion on, and I believe it's murder and going more than 25 miles an hour over the speed limit.
And you don't want them to have that discretion?
That's not what I said. It's just that is the fact that they have discretion on everything else.
With great power comes great responsibility.
So because of that, that means that our laws don't have to be enforced evenly, don't have to be enforced fairly, which is inherently a problem.
Yeah.
That kind of defeats the purpose of the law.
Well, she's cute, so I'm going to let her off.
Which has happened.
Happens every day.
Every day. Should it?
Because that sets a precedent. What happens when she kills somebody because she's been let off every time? Is she less responsible for those actions now because she has never been held accountable for them? Are the officers that have only given her warnings, should they now be held accountable?
You had all these lessons to teach her, and she didn't get them, and it's your fault. You are part of this.
This is a big, big can of worms.
It is.
I don't know that we have time for it today.
No. Let's go to a weird thought.
Let's have our weird thought this morning. I'm with you.
So this one's just interesting to me. I got this from New York Times. There is an author by the name of Jillian Sandstrom. She has a book coming up for release called Once Upon a Stranger, The Science of How Small Talk Can Add Up to a Big Life. And her theory here is that talking to strangers can increase your well-being, improve your social skills, reduce your anxiety and social biases, and make you feel more connected, psychologically rich. And I just thought it was an interesting idea. We've talked about, Callie, you being able to talk to everybody, even at the Chick-fil-A, and me sitting in an airplane next to a seatmate and doing everything possible not to have a conversation with that person. And yet this theory says it would be to my benefit to do this.
And I think it could, but I don't think it always will be.
I agree with that. And
I
she
think
says,
that this is a little too broad for me personally.
But I think at the end of the day, as is so much in life, it's a numbers game. I am willing to play to those odds. And so I do. I talk to everybody. And eventually I'm going to find meaning, value in those interactions, some of those interactions.
I feel like that's a little bit of a poison pill, literally, because I could go and say, I'm sick, I'm going to start trying medications. Eventually one of them may work. But what about the others?
Mine is not harmful.
But it could be.
Why?
You could have a conversation with someone that upsets you significantly. They may not like you and they may start calling you names and hurt your feelings.
And she
They may
addresses
say,
that.
I don't want to talk to you and hit you.
I'll whack
So
them
again-
back.
She addresses that.
Again,
Yeah.
the potential for harm exists. So applying this so broadly to me is a little silly.
But when
Her
you do it
idea-
over and over and over again, you start recognizing how to handle those situations.
Yeah.
This is going really poorly. He's about to hit me. I should
You
stop.
build a tolerance to the drugs that you're taking too.
Way to shit on
So-
this.
One of the things that she says is that we're all really afraid of not being liked. So we don't do this. We don't, make small talk because we're afraid of being disliked or turned away.
It's
But
vulnerable. It's vulnerable.
It's vulnerable. But she said after research, 87% of the time is successful.
It's all muscles. Working them out, figuring out how to work the system, different types of personalities. You get so much engagement and experience from all ends of the spectrum. And then you can leverage those.
It's just a really
Building up a tolerance will
fascinating,
kill you too.
it's just a really interesting idea that makes me think, are those little I think the one that really got me was that it would reduce your social biases. That's a very interesting idea.
Because you get so many other perspectives outside of your own, you stop being in this little woe is me silo. I am the only one who exists, who has this thought, this is how everybody feels. Oh, wait, this isn't how everybody feels. So then you become more curious to say, how do you feel? How does this look for you? What does that
Yeah.
mean to you? What is important to you? And you get all of this data is what it really is.
Yeah.
And you start absorbing that data. And the more data you take in, better all of the rest of it can turn out to be. You have so much more information to be able to make choices and decisions on. It opens your whole world.
I very much think that it can. I do not think that that is always, or even commonly, the result.
Why?
I think it may be more common than you think, than you anticipate.
I could be wrong.
Would either one of you read the book?
Sure.
Probably not.
I'm in.
Cole's not going to.
I'm going to be vulnerable. I'll give it a shot. What if I totally fail? What if it's boring? Okay, fine. And Cole says, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I am open to more perspectives.
Probably.
Weird thought. Who's got the good news?
I got you some good news. So I suspect that unless you've been living under a rock, you have heard about this story. So this is one of those stories that feels so random at first and then weirdly restores your faith in humanity. So apparently Flava Flav, yes, big, huge clock necklace, Flava Flav, has quietly been out here being one of the most unexpected, wholesome hype men for female athletes. And hang with me here because it's not gross. This didn't just come out of nowhere. His involvement started during the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, if you recall, when he stepped in and literally sponsored the United States women's water polo team. In fact, he signed on to financially support them all the way through 2028 because he got tired of these elite Olympic athletes, especially in smaller sports like water polo, who don't always make enough from their stipends or various endorsements, especially as females, to comfortably cover the costs of their training and travel and living expenses. Many of them are juggling multiple jobs. So he stepped in and said, I'll take care of this. It wasn't flashy. It was practical. But instead of making it about himself, he leaned all the way into being their loudest cheerleader. He showed up. He has started hyping them online, and he used his platform to get more eyes on women's sports. So since 2024 in Paris, it has expanded, and he has begun spotlighting other female athletes across the board, including Paralympian competitors, amplifying their stories, celebrating their wins, and reminding people that these female athletes deserve the same energy and recognition as everybody else. And that's the part that really gets me. It isn't about the fame. It's about validation for these women specifically. It's about somebody using their platform to say, hey, the world should be paying attention to you. I want to direct them your way. So this isn't really new behavior for him. I feel like he gets kind of a bad rap. I mean, Flavor of Love in 2006 where he's got a dating show. Okay, all right. But he very much has this like under the radar history of championing underdogs, whether it's women in sports or overlooked communities or people who are out there grinding without any recognition. He's had this weirdly sincere patriotic streak that isn't about flags and fireworks. It's about rooting for the people who don't usually get rooted for. And so he has come out after the United States women's hockey team won the gold medal against Canada, and it was a big, huge deal. And the president of the United States made some kind of crappy comment about, I guess we have to invite them too. And they declined the invitation, claiming scheduling conflicts. And so he set up a whole thing to bring them out to Las Vegas. And he put it out on social media and said, hey, I'm gonna put this on. I want you guys to be here. Who wants to help? And Alaska Air stepped up and said, hey, let's talk. We're going to get these women to you. And so it has expanded to far more than just the women's hockey team. And honestly, I think that there's just something really beautiful about that, because patriotism doesn't have to be loud or political or dramatic. Sometimes it just looks like showing up for people who are trying really hard in a world that isn't always paying attention. So I just wanted to send a shout out to Flava Flav for reminding us that hype can be wholesome, support can be simple, and sometimes the most unexpected people end up being the loudest cheerleaders for the folks who deserve it the most. And honestly, if you would have told me in 2006, again, Flavor of Love, that Flava Flav would grow up to be America's most wholesome sports girl dad, I would have asked you to log off MySpace and go touch some grass. But I just love that the most emotionally mature patriot in this story is a guy who wears a wall clock around his neck as jewelry. And I just think it's super cool.
Flavor Flav.
Yeah, boy. I love you guys.
I love you too.